Trump supporters and Elon Musk go to war over India. Could this tear the MAGA movement apart? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. For the past week, a bitter feud has broken out between tech billionaire turned Trump advisor Elon Musk and many of the president's supporters. The controversy centers around the H-1B visa program, and particularly workers from India. Attacks from both sides have been brutal, and the future of Trump's coalition hangs in the balance. So what's going on? Problems began brewing last Sunday when Trump announced Sriram Krishnan as his senior policy advisor for artificial intelligence. This pick was intended, as Trump said, to ensure American dominance in the field of AI. Many fear the rising status of nations like China and what economic and military implications this would have should America lose the technological arms race. But Krishnan's pick gave some Trump supporters pause, namely over his views on immigration. In a post on X, Krishnan advocated removing caps on the number of green cards given to foreign workers. The day after the announcement, Republican activist Laura Loomer came out against Krishnan, calling him a career leftist and saying that these workers would be taking jobs away from Americans. Now, as a technology advisor, Krishnan would not be in control of America's immigration policy. But this is a sore spot for Trump supporters, as Trump himself ran on a platform of mass deportations and a more restrictive approach to immigration. Gallup surveys show a whopping 88% of Republicans support reducing immigration overall, alongside 50% of independents. The program which came under the most scrutiny this past week was the H-1B visa. H-1B is a type of visa which allows American companies to hire temporary, specialized workers from other countries. Someone who holds an H-1B can not only work in the U.S., but it can also be a stepping stone towards permanent residency and eventually citizenship. H-1B is also the largest program for foreign workers in the U.S., and its impacts are widespread, especially in high-tech industries. Many of the nation's largest technological companies, including Tesla, rely heavily on foreign workers. Nearly 3/4 of Silicon Valley's tech employees are foreign-born, and of all H-1B holders, more than 70% are from India. But why is this? Why would companies look to India for talent instead of right here at home? Vivek Ramaswamy, an Indian American, and Elon Musk's future Doge point man gave his view. That is, American culture celebrates mediocrity. It's a culture that venerates jocks over valedictorians, that America's youth look up to Zack and Slater from Saved by the Bell rather than Screech, that they'd rather be having sleepovers and chilling at the mall instead of doing extracurriculars like kids overseas. Okay, first of all, what year is this? There's a lot of bad things you could say about today's America, but I don't think their deep and abiding love for Saved by the Bell is one of them, especially after Screech stabbed that guy in a bar. And what's this about the mall? When's the last time Vivek has ever been to a shopping mall? Maybe it's different where he lives, but where I live, assuming you can even find a mall that's still open, you won't see any girls with parachute pants and scrunchies sipping Orange Julius outside the Sam Goody. No, you'll be lucky if you don't get jumped somewhere between the counterfeit perfume stand and the abandoned Hot Topic. There's just something about Vivek's response that screams a certain unresolved childhood insecurity. Maybe he was the nerd who never got to chill with the dudes and dudettes at Zach's toga party. Sad. And I just can't relate in high school. That was very cool, if you don't mind me saying. Yep, I was the star player in my Dungeons & Dragons group. And I tell you, when the girls heard about my level 15 Archmage casting 5 spells a day, But that wasn't the end of it. Elon Musk decided to wade in, and boy does he know how to work a crowd. Now, I can't repeat what this post said without getting into trouble with YouTube, but suffice to say the page Autism Capital made the statement that companies prefer to hire foreign workers because Americans are too, differently abled to be trained. To which Elon Musk responded, that pretty much sums it up. Yes, make America great. For the next few days, insults were hurled back and forth between the two sides. Some were called morons, others were called traitors, and some very, very unsavory things were said about Indians. Some even called for the expulsion of Elon and Vivek from Trump's inner circle and for the end of Doge. Now, I'm just spitballing here. But maybe if Elon and Vivek are really interested in participating in the Trump White House and really doing something with the whole Doge concept, maybe they shouldn't go online and call their supporters a bunch of lazy idiots. But what do I know? I'm sure Trump was looking at his phone the whole time, wishing he did drink. As you can probably tell, there's some bad blood between tech bros and the MAGA crowd. Many Trump supporters call Elon's support for H-1Bs an outright betrayal of MAGA, that the program is shutting out American workers with unfair competition and driving down wages. Musk and company, meanwhile, say these foreign employees are rare and gifted individuals or otherwise willing to do jobs Americans can't or won't do. So, let's examine these claims. First, the talent issue. Elon Musk clarified that he's in favor of bringing in the top 0.1% of engineers. But that's not really what's being discussed here. America already has a program for those 1 in a million genius types, and that's the O-1A visa. And if you're a really big deal, the CIA could just throw you in the back of a van and ship you off to Disney World to design its next Tomorrowland. The government has a yearly limit of 85,000 new H-1B visas. There are some exceptions for nonprofit research institutions, universities, and the government. Now, you may have seen a chart trending on X that showed companies being allowed to apply for 10 times that amount. That's misleading. Those are numbers of initial applications companies submit for H-1B visas, not the number of visas issued. Like I said, there are only 85,000 new H-1B visas a year. Because there are so many more applications than actual visas, if a company's application is approved, they are entered into an H-1B visa lottery. So companies pay thousands of dollars in fees in order to get just a chance to get these visas. Including visa renewals, the U.S. government issued around 265,000 H-1B visas in 2023. The vast majority of these applications are for tech-related jobs. But Chris, you say, H-1B visas aren't all bleeding-edge high-tech jobs? I've seen screenshots on X for H-1B applicants working as truck drivers, plumbers, miners, ranch hands, and 7-Eleven cashiers. So we looked into where those screenshots were coming from. It's a website called H-1B Visa Salary Database. It basically scrapes data from labor condition applications submitted to the Department of Labor. That's the initial application companies have to submit in order to then apply for an H-1B visa. There's no way to tell from this data whether these applicants actually got an H-1B visa. Also, this website says it has data going back to 2012. In that time, there have been 9 applications for truck drivers, 1 application for a plumber, 1 application for a miner, 1 application for a ranch hand, and 2 applications for 7-Eleven cashiers since 2012. And again, these are just applications. No idea from this data whether any of them actually got visas. So despite the outrage on X, H-1B visas aren't actually replacing the plumbers of America. Oh, also the ranch hand was for a completely different E3 visa for Australian workers, so the ranch hands of America are safe too. So why do these companies apply for H-1B visas? Our educated guess from looking at the applications is that they were trying to bring specific people to the U.S. like family members. Not the best way to do it. Meanwhile, in the last 5 years, there were over 1 million H-1B visa applications for software developers. So you can see why the tech industry is especially invested in this debate. So do H-1B visas drive down wages? Since we've been on the topic of Elon Musk, let's look at Tesla. Here's just a few of the applications for H-1B employees working at Tesla facilities across the country. Take this one, for example, a materials planner in Buffalo, New York. This position pays $73,000 a year, which according to Salary.com is about what you'd expect for that area. And this makes sense. The law requires H-1B employees to be paid an equivalent or higher wage as your average American with the same job. So if that's the case, how could H-1Bs drive down wages? Well, the answer is supply, demand, and competition. If an American worker is unhappy with his job, he's free to quit and go and look for work elsewhere. For his employer, finding a replacement can be a long, difficult, and expensive process. So to prevent that employee from leaving in the first place, the business owner has to provide incentives to keep his employee happy. Better pay, better working conditions, etc. But with H-1Bs, it's a very different story. H-1Bs must be sponsored by their employer in order to stay in the country legally. If they quit or lose their job, they also lose their sponsorship and can face deportation. So to avoid this, H-1B workers will often put up with much, much worse conditions than an American would. Longer hours, dangerous work, harassment, and more. And let's just say Tesla has gained a reputation for itself, and not merely for its hardcore culture of fast-paced work and long hours. Workers have suffered a disproportionate number of injuries, with the company in the past raking up more fines for safety violations than 10 other major U.S. auto plants combined. And that's just the ones we know about. And let's not forget the lawsuits they've incurred regarding overtime pay and even racial abuse. But if you're an H-1B employee and you need that job to stay in America, well, those are things you might just decide to put up with. As a result, the turnover in employees, or churn as it's called, is 3 times lower among H-1B holders, according to Malika Ayer, a former employee of Google AI. She also notes that Tesla employees often find themselves working 70 hours per week, and that H-1Bs being paid over $60,000 often do not legally qualify for overtime. Different sources give different figures. Some say Tesla employees work 50 hours a week, some say 90. Grok, for what it's worth, appears to confirm Malika's estimate. And that's Elon Musk's personal chatbot, so hey. The point I'm getting at is, if an H-1B employee is working more than 40 hours a week and not being compensated for it, then his salary isn't truly reflective of his work. And if an American worker would get overtime at over 40 hours a week for the same work, then that H-1B visa drives down wages and job quality for everyone. However, it's more complicated than that. Because for many high-tech jobs, American workers also do not qualify for overtime. It depends on the type of job. So it's hard to calculate the exact effect the H-1B visas have on wages. But regardless, the H-1B worker is often trapped with a grueling job he can't escape. So is there anything we can do to end this vicious spiral? And will this debate continue to tear apart Trump's coalition before he even takes office? Well, oddly enough, one solution came from none other than Elon Musk. He suggested merely raising the minimum salary for H-1Bs and tacking on a yearly maintenance cost. That way, employers would be incentivized to hire Americans before resorting to foreign workers. He also added that the program is broken and needs major reform. Elon, if that's how you feel, then why didn't you say that in the first place? You're telling me we had to go through days and days of this back and forth, this constant bickering, the insults, the boring spreadsheets filling up everyone's feed, just so you could come around and say, yeah, you guys have a point, we'll work to make it better. Why do I even try? Well, Christmas ruined, but I guess we still have a couple days left until New Year's. Maybe until then we could try not starting any more flame wars. But who am I kidding? In 2025, the world is going to get a whole lot crazier, so it may be good to get some practice in now. But what do you think? Leave a comment below. Are H-1Bs good, bad? What should we change? And what's the worst thing you saw on Twitter over the past week? And if you haven't already, check out our new premium website at americauncovered.tv. There's a lot of great exclusive stuff you can only see on the website, and you'll be helping me continue to get the truth out about all the most important breaking news. Episodes like this wouldn't be possible without your support. More info is in the description below, so head over to americauncovered.tv and become one of our first premium subscribers. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you on the other side.